This is Scott from Scott Bull City Trader, and in this video we're going to talk about the advanced trading of zones, some variations that you will very definitely see, and you need to know how to approach them. So this is an example of two events firing off pretty close to each other, I'd say within 5 minutes here. And I'm going to show you how you can trade off of the first event and trail your stop off the second event, just as long as certain parameters are not breached. So first of all, let's draw this current zone. So let's spread this out. This was 200 buy ice in wheat. Threshold's 150, so this is a drawable, tradable zone. So we will take the bubbles off to help us draw. Use our last price line as talked about in a prior video. That's the top of the zone. This would be the bottom of the zone. So our zone here is 747.75 down to 746.25. So I'm just going to show you for illustration purposes. This is a spreadsheet we use in my trade room that you get if you're part of my trade room. We'll have actually another course on this based on another strategy that we use. But you don't have to have this as long as you understand the ATR and using 115% of an ATR to distinguish the zones. But the beauty of this spreadsheet is you plug in, all you need to plug in is the zone top, the zone bottom, and the ATR, and it tells you exactly where to go long, your stop, the validation, etc. So I plugged in all the values here. This was the ATR at the time, the top and the bottom of the zone. So, we've talked about how we trade these zones either aggressively or conservatively. In this instance, I'm looking for a conservative entry. So again, we're looking for an ATR move below, a retest, and a failure to take that short. This already proven itself to be a short setup, and that again is in the spreadsheet. So the validation for a short would be if this market touched 742.50. So the minute it touched 742.50, we know that that's a bearish setup. So now we're waiting for the retest failure of the zone to go short. As you can see, this turned out to be a very nice winning trade here. So what do you do if you're waiting for a retest and another volume event comes in like this one? So this was a stop run about 5 minutes after that, 205 stops, so that is threshold 2. So the way I would do that is, first of all, we need to draw our zone again. And this was that spike here. Like we talked about in another video, the sweeps, many times the sweeps cause the stop runs. This sweep, so we don't know, the stop runs get second right to the orders. The sweep gets the first right, stop right gets second, stop runs get the second. So the sweep started here, and the stop runs could have been anywhere here before they actually fired off, where it's showing visually here. So the point is, we want to draw it on the first available sweep that we believe is the stop, that the stops could have been sitting at, which would be this price. It couldn't have been this price, because if it was, even though the sweep started here, the stops were not here, very, very likely, because they would have already triggered off when this price touched. So we don't start it there, even though the sweep started there, we started here. It's a little bonus for this video. I didn't really expect to get into that. We talk about it in another video, but so that is the top of that zone, the bottom of that zone. And let's just color that so we can distinguish between the two. So we have that as our second zone. So the way I trade these is there's a way we can still continue to wait for the retest of the first zone, right? We're waiting for that, and then still take the short at that price, that 42.50. Actually, in this instance, we would move it out of the zone. I'll talk about that in another video as well. You just don't want it. The actual entry price on this spreadsheet was 42.50, but like I'll talk about in another video, you want to try to avoid entering in the middle of the zone. So move it out a point and a half and get in at 41, just because of the propensity for these things to bounce off these zones. The whole reason we're trading them. Try to get outside the zone. So let's just move that down to 741. So the point is, I'm trading off of this first zone, right? Getting in at that price. But I can trail my stop and then also trade this event too, potentially, so off of the second zone. So we already know that our entry was at 742, and I moved it down actually only half point. And the stop for that first zone was 752, right? So if I pretend the second volume event did not happen, right, just this first one, well, if I were to get short there at the 742 at the time, I would stop up here at the 752, which would be an ATR plus 15%. Well, now that this new volume event came in, now I can put these values in, or again, if you don't have the spreadsheet, you can still figure it out yourself what the ATR plus 15% is. So let's just put that zone in first and foremost. 743.75 is the top of the zone. And the bottom of the zone is 741.25. And your ATR at that point was, we will check that fired off right around 8. What time is this? 8:05. So we check our, that's Pacific time. 8:05 was an ATR of 3.67, so pretty close to where it was. So we plugged that. Actually, that's exactly what it was, 3.67. So now you can see the original stop was above that first zone at 752. Now with this new zone, I can bring my stop down to 748. So it's not a huge difference, but it's 4 cents. Makes a difference in your bottom line, right? So again, that noise is coming from. Apologies. Okay, so again, I'm trading off of this first zone. Stop was here. You get the new event. I could trail my stop to that zone, which would have been right there. Sorry for the color change there, which would have been here instead of 752. So I have that 748 versus 752. So that's 4 cents, right? Because I'm basing now, I'm an ATR plus 15% above this zone. So then what you can do as well, this is a brand new event. And then you can do the same thing, trading, the ATR retest failure type of trade off of this new event. So there's a possibility.
Soybean iceberg by ZS, 152 contracts. Corn iceberg by ZC, 401 contracts.
So that's the opening of the grain contracts. But you could take that trade there, and then say you're taking the ATR retest, the conservative trade, and then with the new event you can do the same thing. You can potentially have 2 positions on. Potentially you could have multiple positions on if you keep getting the same thing down here. So when do you not do this? Well, take this example. I haven't drawn this zone yet. I'll just do it with the drawer. So you can see here this was
Soybean iceberg by ZS, 162 contracts.
So this event here was threshold, right? 157 contracts. So if I were to draw that zone, it would have been here, right? Well, now that same idea is not in play with this new zone. Let me get this back on this. Here we go. Because why is that? Well, we have this zone here, and then the new volume event came that we drew with this blue zone, right? Well, for this market, if this market retests this zone, that would make this zone bullish. So I couldn't go short off of the original one because the most recent event is bullish. Always defer to your most recent event if that were to happen, right? In this scenario that I just showed you, this was not a full ATR above. When this market moved back above here, this was not to retest this.
Corn iceberg by ZC, 422 contracts.
To retest this zone, that was not a full ATR to make this a bullish event. So you can still go short the first zone. So hopefully that's clear. Sorry with all the green notifications firing off. So again, if we draw that zone or watching, we saw this zone, you could not take a short off of that zone because this most recent zone would have been a full ATR above that zone, and that would make that a bullish event, right? So hopefully that is clear. And that is a variation in how you trade these events if they come in one right after another.